season between May and October. It's clean, it's free, and it could provide a sustainable link to Mumbai's water supplies in the future. Now, Mumbai gets a huge amount of rain. It's in the tune of about 80 inches every year. This falls mainly between May and October, with the heaviest seasons being between June, July, and August. Now, being from Mumbai, I can attest to the fact that every Mumbaiker has his experiences with the monsoon season. Offices shut down, schools close. It's extremely hard to commute anywhere by bus or car. Trains are stalled, planes are off schedule. Everything is complete chaos. Kids have fun, office goers are in deep trouble, of course. So therefore, this rainwater has an enormous potential with 80 inches every year in just 4 months. Now, the big problem, or maybe the small problem that we face in Mumbai is space. There's a lack of space because it's so congested and highly populated. For our solution, we've thought about the Dharavi region of Kumbharwada, which is Dharavi's pottery region. Now, this is one of the areas which has space, which I'll elaborate on in the next slide. Dharavi's famous pottery industry, known as Kumbharwada, is a cultural mainstay in Dharavi. It's been there for about 100 years, established by northern Indian immigrants in the region. It's a traditional landmark, it's a very popular place, even my mom goes there to buy pots. So it's a very famous place, and these pots are used for all purposes. It's very popular in India throughout. So each potter in this region has their own small backyard in which there is a tiny, not a tiny actually, a pit. Each pit is about big enough to contain about 1,000 gallons of water. And what they usually do with this water is they store it using the tap water, and then they take water out each day as they make their pots outside the pit. So therefore this is just a storage for water. Now, as you can see, the sewer lines are also ingrained in some of these areas, due to which there is sewage seeping into the water. Now this provides a vector for disease as well. Now in the monsoon season, the pottery industry is on hold. It just shuts down because there's no sunlight available for sun drying the pots. These pits are practically lying empty and no one's really paying attention to them. We've decided to use these pits in our solution.
So what does our solution look like? Well, it's actually quite simple. We collect rain that falls on the roofs. Using gutters, we transport the rain to the pits that we have realized are available within this time frame. And then that water that is collected can be used for household purposes. We're excited about the use for washing, laundry, cooking uses. We do consider this to be a secondary supply of water, though with filtration or boiling, we believe that it could be also considered a drinking water source. And the major advantage is not only would this water then become available during the 4 months of monsoon, but depending on how it's used and how judiciously, it could easily extend to an additional 2 months, so covering half of your water needs throughout the year. The illustration is quite simple also. It illustrates 2 things. The first one is the rainwater collection system is a formation of gutters. These would be locally sourced and are already available. The second is the pit that's shown on the bottom. We've discussed how these pits are often filled with wastewater, and that's of course problematic. And if we were storing water in these pits, we would want to make sure that we weren't losing water to infiltration. So we do recommend that the pits be lined. A simple concrete mortar would do the trick quite well. 3 other advantages are sketched here. First off, 70 to 90% of the rain that falls on roofs can be collected in the fashion of using gutters. It's been researched, and that's the outcome. Also, a variety of roof types are really useful in this scenario, so we don't expect that we have to eliminate really any of the roofs from service in this manner. And then, because we also understand that there's quite a bit of variation among roofs, piping systems will be built to be extremely flexible and to allow service to any particular location. We've shown just one outlet to a pit here, but you could also have multiple outlets allowing for collection in large rain barrels, or they're actually just existing barrels, but we would maybe think of them as rain barrels that are on site. Our interest in this area, again, is mostly because it has built-in storage, but we do consider Kumbharwada to be a pilot region. Once we have learned some of the impacts of our position and what's useful, we hope to be able to use that learning, use the fact that community members have learned the advantages, and really deploy rainwater collection throughout the entire slum region of Dharavi. After that, we're interested, of course, in expanding to areas where it's applicable in terms of rainfall and other water needs. So again, worldwide slums based on a pilot program that starts in Kimberwada. We've alluded slightly to our business model, but I'd like to fill you in a little bit more about it. Of course, we did mention that we're interested in using collaborative approaches. So we'll be trying to pair with a existing NGO or community business within this area. One of the main reasons is that we are interested in being able to utilize a financial system, which of course we currently don't have in place. So those that do would be prime partners. We're interested in being able to set up some sort of payment system because we do believe that our solution has value to the residents of Dharavi and to other slum areas. But we also understand that people live essentially day to day on the resources that they have available. So once we install the systems, it would be at that point that we would be able to begin collection. Following that system and after successful deployment, we would actually try to reinvest our funds that we've collected again into deploying rainwater collection systems in other areas. So a continuous feedback loop. One of the groups that we would be interested in working with has created this very interesting public service announcement. They are the Center for Science and the Environment, and they're really doing a lot to highlight the advantages of rainwater collection. They say in their ad that rainwater belongs to everyone, and that's something we certainly agree with. They do a lot of research and deployment of systems, but currently rainwater is not being used by everyone, and mostly that's because only large systems are required to have rainwater, large roof systems. And right now there's not really any availability to slum residents, so there's nobody that's serving this particular population.
So at the moment, our IIT Mumbai counterparts have been talking to the potters and they're revisiting the slums in order to see how they could make this a sustainable solution and a win-win scenario for both parties. The potters, the neighbors, everyone is involved in this one. So we really want to make sure that they get the benefit out of this as much as all of Dharavi does. And they understand how good this is for them. In the past visits, in the past month, when they've talked to the potters have shown an extremely large amount of interest in rainwater harvesting and they want to be a part of this. This is in part because the government is really encouraging it also, as is the BMC through advertisements that you saw by NGOs as well as BMC. It's a very simple solution. So it's really applicable to all different sections and the rainwater is so much that you should really, it's a huge potential. In the next month, what we wish to do is partner basically with local organizations such as the CAC, the Center for Science and Environment, as she mentioned, along with another couple of NGOs that we are focusing on to see how they will be helping us and how they would like to partner with us in this scheme. So overall, it's a very simple scheme, it's a very sustainable solution.
It's inexpensive and easy to install.
Yeah, and the rainwater is collected by itself. There's minimal behavior change needed throughout the process.
Using local materials, we've eliminated the need for scrambling to find replacement parts.
Through the lining of the sewage pits, there's no sewage water infiltrating in the water that's stored in the pit, so therefore it improves health directly of the region.
And because our system doesn't depend on government involvement, we're really allowing people to take water resources into their own hands and eliminate red tape.
Yeah, so when it's basically the neighbors get involved, it becomes a community-based solution, and that's what we're aiming for.
We'd like to, of course, thank our sponsors, Akara, thank you for having us, and then also our teammates in India who couldn't be here today, but are excited about our solution, and then also the mentors who've been extremely helpful as well. So thank you. We'll take your questions and invite our other team members to come up as well for this experience.
Thank you. So questions first from the panel. Or questions, discussion?
Well, I have maybe a logistical question. How is the water that's collected distributed?
It's not distributed in the scenario that we're looking at. There's not a large distribution area. It's primarily meant for each individual resident. Each home could have its own gutter system and tank, or its own has its own pit. So in our current scenario, we aren't thinking of a large distribution area.
So in the pilot phase, the pottery operation would use the water?
Yeah, primarily the pottery operation.
In the pottery region also, there is a ratio of about 1:2.